Hi, my name is Mike DeFazio, and I'm a solution engineer with Hyperscience. Today, we're going to demonstrate Hyperscience machine learning for document processing to quickly, accurately, and with a high degree of automation, process documents that can provide value to your organization as well as your end customer. So let's demonstrate how banks and lenders might use Hyperscience to process forms and documents as part of a forbearance request. So I'm going to go ahead and manually upload a forbearance request packet. Now, this is a packet of documentation that might come in at the same time or at different times, and a customer might typically mail or fax these to you, in which case you'd scan them in, or maybe they come in via an email attachment, or perhaps the customer electronically uploads these to a website or externally facing portal that you, the bank or financial institution, provide to your customer. What Hyperscience is going to do is process these documents. It's going to classify each document type, identify that document, perform document separation, and then perform any data extraction on the relevant data that exists on the document types that Hyperscience found in the submission. So while Hyperscience is processing these documents, let's go ahead and take a look at what makes up the document packet in this case. So here I have a multiple page document that includes the application, which is a 4-page PDF, which was likely a blank document that the customer got off of the bank website, downloaded it, and filled it out by hand, and uploaded it back into the packet. We'll also notice here that there's a blank page. One of these documents is rotated upside down. And there's other documentation that also exists in this packet based on the checklist of documents that are required for the forbearance request and the forbearance type. This includes a bank statement, a pay stub, an IRS form. In this case, it's the 4506T that looks like it was taken by a cell phone camera, a little bit rotated to the left, a power of attorney document, and finally, a personal financial report statement, which looks to be a little bit scaled on the page and certainly has some issues with regards to image quality. So again, what Hyperscience is doing is it's interpreting this document packet, and it's going ahead and recognizing any documents that it's seen before or documents that it knows to expect as part of a forbearance packet of documents per the checklist, as well as using machine learning technology to recognize any other documents that need to be classified. So let's go ahead and see how Hyperscience is doing here. So the result of the classification step, which is typically the first step in the process, is that Hyperscience accurately and at 100% automation identified the 6 unique document types that existed in the multiple page PDF submission. You can see some of the documents were 1 page while the application was 4 pages. And then Hyperscience also kicked out pages that it didn't recognize or pages that were not relevant for processing, such as the blank page. Once classification has been performed and Hyperscience knows the document type, we then perform extraction on the relevant data that exists on these different documents using the same machine learning technology. Hyperscience strives to automate as much work as possible, and you're seeing that there in a number of the documents that were straight through processed, not only in terms of classification, but also in terms of field automation, meaning the machine was able to, at a highly accurate level with 100% automation, transcribe or extract all the data from the documents. Now, as part of the machine learning approach that Hyperscience takes, Hyperscience involves what's called the human in the loop. And what happens is when the machine is not confident that it's going to be able to extract the data to meet your accuracy SLA, it's going to raise its hand for help, so to speak, and send any of those low confidence tasks to the human for review. Let's go ahead and take a look at one of those tasks now. So in this case, because machine learning technology of Hyperscience is taking a look at fields and data on a field-by-field level, it sent this field on this particular document to the human for review. And again, as I mentioned before, for whatever reason, Hyperscience was not confident in that it was going to be able to read this value, in this case, the occupation of the customer, in a confident way. So it raised its hand for help and asked the human in the loop to help out. Now, whether this is a mailroom worker or a knowledge worker in your loan servicing department, the user merely needs to just key what they see, enter the information in order to complete the submission. Now, I talked about maintaining as much automation as possible at a high accuracy level that you, the customer, set. You'll notice here that the user only had to correct one field out of 203 total for an automation of 99.5%. Typically at this point, the documents and the data, either that have been straight through processed or were a mix of machine and human work, would be sent downstream into a loan origination or loan servicing application. But let's go ahead and take a look at the work that the machine did using the accuracy of data extraction and doing it at that high automation level. If I click into the application itself, you'll notice that this was the 4-page PDF, the main document in the submission, that collected a lot of the information from the customer about their application for mortgage assistance. So let's go ahead and walk through some of the fields that the machine extracted. First, you'll notice the loan number that was looking for letters and integers. And in this case, the customer wrote below the box, and the machine was able to understand that it was looking for something that represented what a loan number looks like at a bank, and was able to even look outside of the box to find the information and do it at a very high level. This is really important because we can't always control how customers fill out this information on these forms. And so being able to look outside the box and capture all this information helps achieve not only the high degree of accuracy and automation, but also reduces the amount of work that's sent to the human and prevents downstream data loss. You'll also notice this here with the date, in which case the information was also below the line or outside of the box. But in this case, we were looking for something that represented a date. So we found the information and normalized it into a date that the downstream systems are expecting. If we look at some of the other different fields here, this is a name field. Joseph is most certainly a name. But we're also looking for things like social security numbers or tax IDs or email addresses or even phone numbers. We can also find checkboxes and even look for things that look like addresses. This one's unique in the fact that it didn't confuse the I's and the L's with the ones, and it was able to accurately understand that this is what the address format in the United States looks like, and very accurately extract the address as it was printed on the page. Going down to a different example, you'll notice here's some free-form text that fell outside of the box to the right. We were able to capture that, as well as some currency amounts that were also normalized to a value that would include the dollars and cents with the thousands separator and the comma, but also being able to normalize this in a way that the downstream system can accept. You'll also notice here free-form text that was written in a block, and the machine being able to accurately extract that information as well, especially given the combination of handwriting and handprint and the way that the characters run together. Our machine learning models are very, very accurate in terms of interpreting handwriting and extracting that in a very, very accurate way. We're able to use our signature detection to understand initials or signatures themselves. Let's take a look at a different document in which the customer also filled out some information. This here was the IRS form that was taken with the cell phone camera. We can view the original image to show that this is exactly how it was sent to us, and that Hyperscience was able to crop and rotate the image in a way to not only identify the document type, but also be able to put it in a format or an orientation that allows us to extract the data. What's interesting about this document is that not only was it filled in using the keyboard by the customer in allowing Hyperscience to extract machine print, but in the same pass, being able to also extract the handwriting that existed on this document as well. If we take a look at another document, maybe the financial report, this is the one that was scaled down on the page and also had a number of the image quality challenges that I talked about before, specifically noise, folds, creases, and low DPI. Hyperscience is accurately able to read the relevant information, in this case in a tabular format, and able to normalize data that's written with negative amounts, either represented here with parentheses or here with the subtraction symbol. So these forms that I just showed you were structured in nature, meaning they look the same every time. They're in control of the bank, the financial institution, or the federal government entity such as the IRS. However, with regards to other documents that might be considered semi-structured, those need to be classified, as in the bank statement, or relevant data needs to be extracted from those as well, as with the pay stub. If I click into the pay stub, what you'll notice is that this is a unique pay stub that came from the payroll processing system of the employer of the customer. However, we know that each employer might have different payroll systems that generate these documents. Therefore, a payroll pay stub would be considered semi-structured in the definition that we know the data that we're looking for. We just don't know that it's always going to be in the same spot every time. So with the semi-structured capabilities of Hyperscience, we're able to interpret the documents and use the machine learning models to understand where to find the relevant information and how to extract that information off of the document in a very automated and accurate way. Now, typically what happens at this point is anything that straight through processes or any submissions that have been completed, both by the machine and the human, is that the documents and or data are delivered downstream into the loan origination application or other loan servicing system within the line of business. What that allows us to do is deliver the mission critical documents and data downstream into these applications through a JSON payload or other out-of-the-box integration that includes all of the extracted data as well as the original images. This allows us to be the front end to a loan servicing workflow that allows us to accurately and efficiently serve you the data that you need for your decisions to be made either by your knowledge workers or in an automated way by your downstream systems themselves. So this has been an overview of how Hyperscience can help with regards to loan modifications or mortgage assistance with regards to forbearance. I want to thank you for taking the time to learn more about our solution and for your interest in Hyperscience and our capabilities with regards to automated document processing. Thank you.